And welcome everyone to a Maui Invitational Chat. I'm Andy Katz, pleased to be joined by Colorado head coach Tad Boyle. And Tad, you guys had an unbelievable season last year, extended into the NCAA tournament, won some games, had a great offseason with the draft. And now there's a bit of, I don't say rebuild, it's a bit of a reset with this group. What's your sort of level of optimism with this new group heading into this season?
Well, listen, Andy, I mean, we lost a lot. There's no getting around it. So, but as a coach, every player that you put on the floor, unless you're playing some walk-ons, you recruited. You either recruited them, this year for this year's team, or they were on your roster from last year and didn't get a chance to maybe play as much as they wanted. So the returning players coming back, obviously are going to have a chance to step into roles that are much bigger and more minutes than they had last year. And then the incoming players have an opportunity to make an impact right away as well. So I like our group. We've got a lot of competition in practice, but and we've got a lot of talent, quite frankly, but it's unproven talent. And I think that's when, you look at the teams you're playing against, whether it's in conference play or, in the Maui, and you see, okay, well, we got to put up or shut up, because nobody's going to be picking us to, win the league or be at the top of the league. And in Maui, that field is as strong as I've ever seen it.
As the season progressed, whether it was Simpson or Williams or Lampkin, you knew where you could go get a bucket. Here early on, whether it's your point guard, wings, inside, who are some of those candidates where you can say, you know what, we can go through that individual to get a bucket if we're pressed in a possession?
Yeah, it's a great question. I don't know if we have an answer to that yet. I would just say in the early stages, we did sign 3 graduate transfers. And so we've had the summer workouts with them. We've had most of the fall now. We start practice, sometime next week. Andre Yakimovsky is a fifth-year college player playing his COVID year here at Colorado. We played against him at Washington State. He was a very, very good player for Washington State. He can step into maybe a more prominent role, scoring role. He's always been a good shooter, but I think he can score the ball in more ways than just the three-point line. And then Elijah Malone, and he was the NAIA Player of the Year from Grace College in Indiana, and he is a force on the block. He's 6'11". Losing Eddie Lampkin and all the things that Eddie brought to our team is hard to replace. But we did as good a job as we could have done with Elijah, because he can really score the ball. He's a physical presence. And so those 2 guys, I would say, early on would be guys we would go to. But we've got a lot of different weapons. Bangat Dak, Hassan Jope, our backcourt with Julian Hammond, Javon Ruffin. Those guys are coming back into more prominent roles, and they can all impact as well.
What are your thoughts on now entering the Big 12, an expanded Big 12? I mean, it's obviously familiar territory for the university going back decades, but, nothing's going to be easy. It wasn't easy before, but how do you navigate this new frontier?
Well, look, I said when we left the Big 12 to go to the Pac-12, we were leaving one good league and going to another really good league. And now we're going from the Pac-12, and the Pac-12 obviously dissolved, and now it's trying to be rebuilt. But we went from a really good league, we're going back to a really good league. The league we're going back to is different, though. No Oklahoma, no Texas, but you've added Central Florida, West Virginia, BYU. I mean, some really, really good basketball programs. The fact that the Big 12 has been the number 1 college basketball league in the country 9 of the last 10 years says it all. And so the depth and the quality of coaching, the quality of players is not going to be a huge difference. It's going to be a difference, but not a huge difference. The biggest difference, Andy, is the venues. Going into Hilton Coliseum in Ames, going into obviously back to Allen Field, Alice, Kansas, and all the arenas that, Arizona, they fill out every night. BYU's got 20,000 people cheering for them every night. So, like, the venues that we're going to be playing in are going to be much more difficult on the road than maybe we face in the Pac-12. But the players and the coaches, not a huge difference.
Well, one person who's very familiar with a lot of those venues that's on your staff, you're reunited with Danny Manning. Different stage of his career. How much can he help this young group essentially navigate what they're going to be facing?
A lot. Obviously Danny was on Coach Self's staff at Kansas for many years, did a great job, and then became a head coach and was very successful at Tulsa, and has had some stops along the way where he's gained valuable experience. But yeah, Danny and I are so old. We played in the Big Eight. But then he coached in the Big 12. I coached in the Big 12. But to have him back, and to be reunited with a guy that you played with, over 30 years ago is pretty special. And a guy with Danny's acumen, experience, and he's going to be able to help our players not only getting ready for games and venues, but also in practice and scouting reports and workouts and all those things. We're really excited to have Danny aboard.
And getting back to Maui, I mean, a year ago, obviously with the horrible fires, the tragedies that unfolded on the island of Maui, tournament got moved to Honolulu. What are your thoughts on now bringing this event back to Maui, to Lahaina, to hopefully continue the healing process?
Yeah, I look, our hearts all go out to all the people in Hawaii that were displaced, that lost their homes, lost their businesses. It was just such a tragedy, and obviously last year they were unable to host. So the fact that it's back there is special, and I think we've got to be very respectful of what they've been through, what they continue to go through, because my mom lost the house I grew up into a fire. So I know what that's like to come back and the losses that you have, and not only just tangible losses, but emotional issues that you go through as you rebuild. It's a process, and hopefully we can help in that process and bring attention back to Maui, not necessarily for the tragedy they went through, but to understand they still need support to recover in many different ways. So I've been to Maui on vacation. I'm not looking forward to seeing it, in its present state. But it's a special place, and the people there are very special as well.
Pat, appreciate it. Can't wait to see you in Maui.
Okay, take care, Andy. We'll see you there.